Welcome back to Franco Fridays. I left off a couple weeks ago with the Dorado Films Forgotten Films collection. Uh, this is a recent release of two very rare Jess Franco films. I already covered The Silence of the Tomb, so now I'm going to talk about The Sinister Eyes of Dr. Orloff, 1973. Again, this film was produced, as was The Silence of the Tomb, through Jess Franco's production company that he created in the early 70s in Spain. And it really, from a overall feel of the movie, it doesn't feel like any other Jess Franco film. These two films really do make a centerpiece of a divergence in the Franco filmography, because these two films really feel like something you could see on 70s American TV. They're very soap opera-ish driven, lots of dialogue. It's devoid of any kind of gore or certainly eroticism or sex. It was stripped of those things, and I don't know what the deal is with that. I mean, when you get a Franco film, you've come to expect certain things. Eroticism, sex, you can check off the boxes. Eroticism, sex, overall weirdness, interesting storyline, atmosphere, great locations, intriguing, interesting music, those type of elements in the Franco films of what we come to know and love. But you don't really get those things in these two films, and I don't know whether Franco was attempting to show that he can direct a normal type film, a vanilla by the numbers film, or not. But maybe he was just concerned about the overall the atmosphere from a rating. In Spain at that time, you still had the Franco regime, so maybe he was trying to play ball, and he was tired of being persecuted for producing these films that were, way off the right center of the street. I don't know, but I would say that The Sinister Eyes of Dr. Orloff is a missed opportunity. It really is. It's very much a loosely based reboot, I think, of the Awful Dr. Orloff. But it's done again in kind of a soap opera-ish early 70s TV kind of fashion. You've got once again you've got Montserrat Pross, the beautiful brunette, and she plays Melissa, a girl that was born she was born without any ability to walk, crippled. And the family's kind of looking after her. She's got a sister and an uncle, and then she's got a house servant that's watching after her. But they're watching after her basically for the money, not necessarily for her own well-being. And then so one of the sisters, because she's concerned about Melissa's nightmarish visions, brings Dr. Orloff, played by William Berger, who I think is better known for his $5 and an August Moon. William Berger, yeah. He played a pretty decent Orloff. But again, the film is by the numbers. It's basically a murder mystery with a lot of dialogue in the first 45 minutes. And then you've got Melissa seeing these visions at night, nightmares, if you will, of her father being murdered and other murders occurring in kind of a surreal type atmosphere, and you don't know if it's real or perceived or dreamlike, and that's a standard Franco trump, I think. So you do have the dreamlike atmosphere of this film, which permeates all the Franco films. So the atmosphere is there, but you really just got to buy the numbers murder mystery. Who's doing the killings, and I think it almost attempts to be sort of a giallo in a way. But with a giallo, you expect, what do you expect? You expect gore, brutal kills, and you really don't have any of that in this. There's one scene, um, a murder in a bathtub. There's no blood, but it is kind of a brutal scene in some cases. But for example, you've got a kill with a clock, a clock arm. It's like a really sharp piece of armature of a clock, and the guy's throat gets slit, but there's no blood. I mean, you slit the guy's throat and there's not a drop of blood. So a lot of the killings very much come off like you're watching a TV show. And again, I don't know if that's something that was intended or was an attempt to just satisfy the censors because of the overall atmosphere of filmmaking in Spain back in the early 70s. I don't know what the deal was, but it certainly doesn't feel like much of a Franco film. And there's the other thing, I think the film is stripped of any kind of overt nudity or eroticism. That's completely stripped out. So what you do have is great atmosphere, good locations as usual. You've got the Canary Islands. Film was shot in the Canary Islands. And you've got some interesting jazzy type music as written by, I believe it was written by Franco under pseudonym David White. So you do have, there are some normal, what I call the normal Franco elements, but those don't do enough to hold up the story, which is really a pretty thin murder mystery that doesn't get going until about 45 minutes in. And then when it does get going, there's just not a lot of suspense to keep you interested. So I think this is a tremendously missed opportunity. I wanted to like the film more than I did, obviously. I'm a Franco fan, and I'm just not getting what I like from Franco in this film, and it's a disappointment. So I can recommend these for the hardcore Francophiles, but just keep in mind if you order this double feature from Dorado Films, you're really getting some pretty tame murder mystery type films with not a lot of eroticism or gore elements in that. So that's unfortunate. But it is a beautiful release, I will say that. The Sinister Eyes of Dr. Orloff is the print is beautiful. There was a DVD released by Intervision, I think in partnership with Severin Films, that released this film, Sinister Eyes of Dr. Orloff. And I believe they just ripped it off of a VHS. It looks like shit. But, having said that, there is an 18-minute interview with Jess Franco that's probably worth the price of admission just for that. So, unfortunately, this does not have that. It does have a 15-minute interview with Robert Woods, who plays the kind of this hippie musician in the film, and he leads the inspectors into the dim-witted inspectors into, hey man, something strange is going on at this house. People are disappearing. So he had a minor role in that regard. The other disappointment in this film is Lena Romay had a very minor role. She is in the film, but she's not a lead actress in this, and she has a minor role as kind of Robert Woods' little hippie buddy. I mean, she's good to look. She's interesting to look at and a good actress, but she's not really featured in the film. So overall, I would have to say that both these films are a missed opportunity. 5 out of 10 for each. But there you go. You're not, out of 200 films in Jess Franco's filmography, we all know that, you're not going to hit a home run on every single one, and these two are certainly a miss in my opinion. So there you go. Excuse me. That'll wrap up my Jess Franco Friday, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks.